What's up, everyone? I'm Matt with Ozark Overland Adventures, and got another power station for you. The one that I've been most excited about, that I knew was coming this year, is finally here, and it fits right here. This is Bluetti's EB55. It's a 500 wattish power station. This is Bluetti's EB70S. It's a 700-ish watt-hour power station. Then we make the jump to the Bluetti AC200 Max. This is the big boy. This is 2,000 watt-hours in portable power. And really, the three of these, plus probably the EB3A for a smaller, 260 watt-hour power station that would be right here. But really, these make up Bluetti's lineup for what we would use for overlanding, car camping, off-road adventures, to keep our fridge running, to keep all of our stuff charged, phones, cameras, lights, all that good stuff. And for years, there's been this one missing, because you go from 700 watt hours to 2,000 watt hours. And there's been a lot of other power station companies that have been filling in this, which is the 1,000 to 1,500 watt hour segment that Bluetti hasn't had in years. They did make an older model, the EB150. That's been discontinued a couple years ago. They haven't made that one in a while. So there's been this void here. But this is the brand new AC180. It's 1,152 watt hours, and it has an 1,800 watt inverter, which compared to the competition, that's pretty incredible. I've been so excited. I have been asking Bluetti for a couple years now, when are you going to put something in this space? Because when you're looking at power stations, the 500 watt hour, it does really good for an overnighter. Maybe a two-nighter to run a fridge, charge all your things. And this is without having to recharge things. So this is really good for a weekend. And it charges kind of slow, but it's a good power station. The EB70, you're definitely, this is the one that I recommend. If you're a weekend warrior and you're going out Friday through Sunday, this is the one that I always recommend. It is a great power station. It's 700 watt hours. It's 800 watts of output. So it does really good. But then you had to jump up to this one, and this sucker's 60 pounds. And this one is, this is like for your week-long trips. Or for powering your little trailer, because it's got a 30 amp plug on it. This is, for most of what we do, this is too much, for just being in a vehicle. If you got a small trailer, this is good to have. But, for just being in your rig for a few days, this is overkill, like way overkill. But now there's this one, the AC180. I think this is the sweet spot in the Bluetti lineup to give you plenty of power for extended trips, charges quickly, has a few tricks up its sleeves too that I'll show you. But in the Bluetti lineup, this one's my new favorite. I love this one. All right, let's get into the details of this thing. First, the form factor. I think Bluetti has absolutely knocked this out of the park. It's square. It's boxy, it's flat everywhere. Two handles built into the case. This fits in your rig. You can stack things on top of it. This is the perfect form factor for a power station. Some form of boxiness. No weird angles, no weird handles. Just give us a box. That's all we need. That's the best thing for being able to organize and stack and put and store it in our vehicles. It of course has the standard things that you'd expect. It's got 4 AC ports, 1,800 watts of power. It can do more, which I'll get into in a little bit. 4 AC outputs. Nice big display here. Tells you everything you want to know. Amount of watts in, amount of watts out, how much time is left, what your battery percentage is. They basically took the screen from the EB3A and put that in here, because the EB55 and the EB70 screens, very little information. Enough, but not a good screen. Bluetti's finally given us a good screen, so yay for that. Big buttons here. Turn on the AC, turn on the DC, very handy there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 USB ports. You know how I feel about USB ports. The more the better. 5 is okay. 5 is okay. So 4 USB-A, they're all 15 watt USB-A ports, and then one 100 watt USB-C PD port. So yay for that, for the 100 watt USB-C port. Laptops, all that sort of stuff, charge it, no problem. And then of course one 12 volt barrel plug cigarette lighter style adapter here. And then here is your DC input. So this is where you plug in your solar panels, your car charger, and something else that I'll show you here in a minute. That goes there. If we turn it around to the side here, this is where your AC charger goes. Just a standard computer plug. Nothing fancy, no big brick. All that's done inside. So no big brick, like most power stations on the market now. All you gotta have is a power cord. So that's awesome. Then you get a reset, and this is a grounding plug. I think that's important if you're like setting this up in your house as some sort of thing. I don't know. I've heard that's a good thing. I honestly don't know. Fans on both sides, lots of batteries in here, and a 15 watt wireless charging pad on the top. I mean, it's a nice flat space. Why waste it? So props to Bluetti. I love the fact that you can just take your phone, drop it on top, and then boom, you got wireless charging. So if you're sitting around camp, power goes out, you don't, have to, you got other things plugged in, take your phone, just put it on top. Easy. Works really good. Weight, 37 pounds. So not bad. Definitely better than the big 60-pound behemoth of the AC200 Max. But you got the two handles here, so 37 pounds, that's doable. Now let's talk about the inputs. This thing can accept up to 1,440 watts of AC input. Now in standard mode, which is what I've been charging this at, you're gonna see a little over 1,000 watts of input, which still, I mean, you're gonna have this thing fully recharged in just over an hour. But if you're in a hurry, you can turn this thing into turbo mode and get that 1,440 watts and get this charged crazy fast, like faster than any other power station in this category that I've ever seen. So that's really awesome. Solar input, 500 watts, not bad, very respectable. So, carry around 3 200 watt panels, a couple 300 watt panels, and you can get this thing recharged from zero in what, three-ish hours, probably a little over 3 hours, depending on the sun and everything, maybe 4 hours, depending on the sun conditions. I have the Bluetti PV200. I've got one of those. So sun's pretty bright today, a little hazy, a little overcast at times. And so I threw it out there, and I was getting about 135-ish, 140 watts out of it in these conditions, which is fair. That's pretty darn good. It's not perfect conditions today, and so 500 watts as a solar input, that's really good. Of course, you've got your car charger. You're going to max out 100 watts in that. So that's just standard. There's no way to make that better charging from the cigarette lighter in your vehicle. Now, one of the things that you have heard me gripe about, if you've seen the other power station videos, is with the fast charging, which is fantastic. I mean, be able to charge it from 0 to 100% in just over an hour that is a sweet feature. The downside to that is that it requires a pure sine inverter in your vehicle if you want to even come close to being able to charge that. Some other power stations will let you dumb down the amount of power and set it to 400 watts or 200 watts. But the inverter in my Gladiator is not a pure sine inverter. So even doing that doesn't work with these things. But because Bluetti has their tried and true barrel port for DC input that's been on all of their power stations for years. So what you can do is either buy or borrow, if you've got one of their other ones, one of the bricks from from another power station. This is from the EB70S. It's a 200 watt power supply, and so I can take this, plug it in my AC port, take this, plug it into the DC input, and now I'm charging it instead of just 100 watts, or probably more like 96 watts, plugged into the 12 volt. I'm charging it at 195 watts. So I'm cutting my charge time in half by using that instead of the 12 volt. So that's awesome. Now, with 1800 watts of output, what can this run? Now, normally I would plug a whole bunch of things into the power station to show you what it's capable of. But I don't need to do that with this one, because with 1800 watts of output power, it'll run almost anything. In the two most recent power station videos that I've done, those power stations had 800 watts of output. I think one had 1200 watts of output, but had the technology where they could fake doing more, which is great if you're running a hair dryer or maybe a electric coffee maker, that sort of thing. But if you're using that for electronics like a microwave, things go bad very quickly. So I could not run the microwave on those power stations. So if this will run the microwave, it'll run anything, just about anything. Like anything that you're gonna face or potentially have at camp, this thing's gonna run it. So 1 minute. Pulling 1680 watts. I mean, that says it all right there. The fact that you can have a 1152 watt hour power station that can do 1800 watts of output, normal output, just normal output, not fake output, but normal output, and run a microwave, it'll power anything. Now, both of those power stations also could not run a hairdryer at full capacity. They could run it, but toned down because they regulate the voltage to fake that 2000 watts of output. But this can legit run a hairdryer on high. It pulls about the same amount of power as the microwave. So there you go, hairdryer on high, not a problem at all. So I'm not going to take up this video plugging in the waffle maker and plugging in all the different things it can charge and run and that sort of stuff, because if it will do these two things, I mean, it's going to run anything, just about anything. Electric blanket, no problem. Electric heater, no problem. Charge all your things at camp, not a problem. Power tools, not a problem. So I mean, these are if it can run these, you're good. This is a lithium iron phosphate chemistry power station, so Bluetti rates it at 3,500 life cycles. Now that's 3,500 cycles to 80% capacity. It's still got a lot of life left of it. So they say 3,500 cycles or 10 years worth of life out of this to 80% capacity, not to dead, but just to 80% capacity. So for this, to about a 850 watt hour power station in 10 years or 3,500 cycles. And they back that by a 5-year warranty, which is awesome. A lot of power stations give you 2, maybe 3 years. Bluetti, 5 years, that's awesome. A couple tricks that this thing has up its sleeve. It will work as a UPS, as an uninterruptible power supply. So you can, if maybe you work from home and you can take your home computer, you can plug it into this, have this plugged into the wall. In case of a power outage, boom, instantly switches over from wall pass through to power station. They say under 20 milliseconds. So you can be working, power goes out, and you won't even notice it, except that it's dark in your room. But your computer's still on, and you're still able to get what you need done. So yay for this being a UPS. Now, maybe 1152 watt hours just isn't enough. Maybe you need a little bit more. Well, Bluetti has released their brand new B80 expansion battery, which can also serve as its own standalone power station too. But the B80 is an 806 watt hour expansion. It's designed for the AC60, but they make an adapter where you can plug that into this and expand this by another 806 watt hours. So it can grow. And then you can attach multiple of those together and expand it even more. So this isn't limited to just the 1152 watt hours. You can expand it as needed. Now, one test that I do with every power station, if you've been watching all my power station videos, is I take the power station, I plug our Dometic CFX3 55IM fridge. It's a 55 liter, 12 volt fridge. And it's got two 2-liter bottles of water in there to help regulate the temperature. It's inside the house where we keep it at about 73, 74 degrees. That way all the tests are, pretty consistent. This one came in at 84 hours and 12 minutes, which is honestly exactly where I expected it to be. Based on all the other power stations that I've tested, in this range and others, this one fell right where it should. So you get, 3.5 days out of this running a fridge, at least in our test, and that's really good. That's very respectable, and good job. In the box, you get everything you need. They don't make you have to go buy extra adapters or anything like that. You get the power cord that for the AC charging. You get the solar adapter, MC4 to the barrel plug. You get that. You get the car charging adapter. So this is not an add-on. You get that, and you get, of course, the warranty card, 5-year warranty, and you get the owner's manual that tells you everything you need to know about it. So, yay for that. Bluetti has joined in with the competition and are giving us a really good app. It's not quite as detailed and quite as awesome as some of the others, but it's really good and does what you need. You can add multiple devices. As you can see, I've got the AC200 Max in here as well, but click on the AC180. And it tells you everything you need to know. It tells you your inputs, it tells you your outputs, both AC and DC. You can turn the AC and DC ports on and off. So the AC port is currently off. So from the app, I can turn it on. So if I've got something plugged into it, I'm in my tent, I need to turn it on and off, boom, I can. You can go into the settings, and this is where you change that charging mode. Standard, silent. This isn't loud when it's charging normally anyway, but you can put it in silent mode. It'll charge a little bit slower rate, but it'll be real quiet. So maybe you need this to run something around a baby. You can do that. It won't wake the baby. Then you can put it in turbo mode and get that maximum 1440 watts worth of input there. You can turn, and I love this feature, you can turn eco mode on and off. I like to have it off because I don't want this thing just spontaneously shutting down on me. But depending on what you're powering, if something is maybe charging and then you want, after it's finished charging, you want this to shut off, you can do that. You can turn on the eco modes, the DC, eco mode, and you can then set a timer for how long it's looking for something to be running in there. You can set the power, so if it dips below, we'll say 2 watts, then it'll go to sleep. You can do the same thing for AC. And here's this powerlifting mode. So powerlifting is just like the turbo and the other things that other companies have where it will regulate the voltage down to increase the amps to mimic higher wattage. So I couldn't find anything that needed more than 1800 watts to put this to the test, because the fact that this is 1800 watts, you're going to run just about anything anyway. But if you have something, some electric toaster oven or something, I don't know, that needs more than 1800 watts, you can turn on power lifting. It won't give it the full power, because just like with all of them, it's going to regulate the voltage, bring the voltage down, that we can kick the amps up and make it think it's getting the wattage it needs. So I mean, I don't use that feature a lot. I don't, because I want things to run normally. But if you need to, you can. Then you can check your firmware updates. This is a pre-release model, and so far there's been 2 firmware updates since I've had this. Right now I am up to date on my firmware. And then you can go into advanced settings and turn on a couple things and reset there. So super handy app, and it gets the job done, and it does well. And in powerlifting mode, it can mimic up to 2700 watts, which is just bonkers. I can't think of anything that uses anything close to that much power that we take out on trips or even around the house. So, but 2700 watts, it can mimic that high. So that's pretty cool. Let's talk price for this. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Like I said, this is pre-production. It is currently June 2nd when I am recording this. This should be released here in just a couple weeks from when this video releases. So Bluetti's, they've already announced it on their website, but you can't purchase it yet. So I don't know what the price is. I know Bluetti is always very competitive, and I compare things by price per watt hour, and Bluetti's price per watt hour is always in the low to mid 80 cents per watt hour. So I don't know how much this is going to end up costing, but I would expect it to be in that low to mid 80 cents per watt hour. Now, when it first comes on sale, I wouldn't be surprised if they do this really cool launch price and it's below 80 cents per watt hour. And if it's low 80s, 80 cents per watt hour, buy it. Absolutely buy this thing, because this is the power station I've been waiting for. This is it. As you can see, I think Bluetti hit a home run with this one. Just knocked it out of the park. It's well designed. It's got killer features, performs well, and this right here is my go. This right here will be my go-to. I just think it packs everything you need, the amount of power that you need, and the sweet spot for what we do. So AC180 is the new top recommended power station by Ozark Overland Adventures. So I'm very anxious to see their official launch and what the actual pricing is going to be, because if it's where I think it's going to be, get you one of these. Sell your other power stations, get you one of these, because it's going to be worth it. I hope you found this helpful. I hope maybe you found yourself a new power station link, and everything is in the description. Give the video a like if you would. Subscribe to the channel if you're not. Help us hit that goal of 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. If you like what we're doing and you want to support the channel, you want to gain access to special content, special events, we just announced a big one coming up in December. We got big Patreon event coming up in December. Super pumped about that. If you want to gain access to that and all of our GPS data, check out the link in the description for our Patreon supporters. And for Ozark Overland Adventures merchandise, like t-shirt and a hat, go to shopoverlandapparel.com. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.